Hello there and welcome to Corey Loses, where today we're going to be taking an early look at Thrawn's Revenge 3 Fall of the Republic. So this is our Clone Wars mod for Empire at War Forces of Corruption. It is still in development. We're not quite ready for a full playthrough yet, but I thought it would be a good time to sort of show everyone what's going on with development and take our first looks at both the Galactic Republic and the Confederacy of Independent Systems. So today we're going to be doing the Republic. We're going to play for about 40 minutes through the early parts of a Galactic Conquest, take a look at what's already done, what's still to be done, and then I think on Sunday we're going to do the exact same thing with the CIS. Once things are a little further along, we are going to have full playthroughs, so if you're interested in seeing that or seeing any of the preview playthroughs for Imperial Civil War, we've got the Corporate Sector Authority going on right now. You can subscribe, and I do those pretty regularly. One thing to keep in mind, though, again, is that this is all in progress. Everything that you're seeing is a work in progress. So I'll try to talk through, again, what's going on, what's still to be done. But we basically got the framework of the mod ready. There's a lot of story stuff and polish and balancing, all that to be done. A lot of placeholder icons and everything. But we'll take a look at that as we go here. So we're also in the middle of the Mod of the Year competition right now on Mod Database, so if you like what you see and you're interested in voting for either Fall of the Republic, Imperial Civil War, or Ascendancy, our three mods for Empire at War and Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion, there's a link in the description to that. We've just placed in the top 100, so if you want to support us in the second round of that, we'd appreciate it. But we are going to get into it with the Republic, like I said. So this will be the first look at what is a sort of rough early version of the galactic map. It's a bit...
Planetary control achieved.
There we go. With recent events at Geonosis, it's regrettably my duty to inform you that the Republic is at war, Commander. Clone armies have been mobilized under the leadership of the Jedi. I trust you will be able to handle the task of dealing with the threat of Count Dooku's separatists. Alright, so, it's a bit different for anyone who's used to Imperial Civil War, where there are factions everywhere, but here there are obviously just the CIS and the Republic right now. You can see some bits of space that are empty, where other stuff might go in the future. But this is basically a collection of the newer planets that we're putting in. There will probably be a bit more added to this map. This is going to be our version of Art of War for Fall of the Republic, so the Progressive Era campaign map. Where you'll also be able to select which year you want to start into the Clone Wars. This is the basically right after Geonosis. And again, a lot of these forces are just set up for test purposes, so even that will probably change as we go. But you can see we have, just like in ICW, the new Senate structures, which are currently missing text. Like a lot of things, you're going to see a lot of missing text right now. And I think we'll actually just get right into it. This is mostly just going to be to show off mechanics. I'm not really trying to play to win. There's a lot of stuff that isn't really ready to play to win. I mean, you could just play through the whole GC if you wanted it. It just wouldn't be as polished as, say, ICW 2.2 or what we want 2.3 to be. And we are building both mods off of the same basic framework, so you're going to see a lot of ICW UI elements. Eventually, we're going to split them off, and then Fall of the Republic will get all the same stuff you'd expect, like the menu background, the UI here. You can see we're using the Imperial one for the Republic right now. There's a recusant.
Choose your reinforcements.
So we're going to use our first hero, Wolf Yularen.
Heading out.
And we'll throw in a bunch of Venators.
Heading for coordinates. At once. Setting course. Right away.
There will be, like I said, a lot of stuff that is currently unbalanced and needs a lot of balancing tweaks. So in Arquitens, Dreadnought, Acclimator. I tried to put in as many big fleets near the start as I could so we could get a couple good battles in. And that's actually been, throughout most of our testing, the way most of how Fall of the Republic has worked. There's typically going to be battles that are a bit bigger because the way the pop cap transfers over is pretty similar. So you've got Venators that are still taking 8 pop cap, whereas before the standard would be for like 16 pop cap ISTs. So you end up with a couple more ships usually. We're basically going for more things like the Battle of Coruscant to be possible. I guess we're gonna hop back over here. The CIS is the faction that needs the most right now. So the Republic is, and as far as like units goes, almost done in terms of balancing and like heroes and everything. There's obviously still a lot to do. You guys saw the missing icons on the galactic map. The CIS is still missing a fair bit, especially with smaller units. Like the main iconic units that they have are here. So Recusant, Munificent, Lucca Hulk, and Providence. This is actually the newer Munificent model.
Acquiring target.
Star Cruiser standing by.
But yeah, so
Open fire on those laser cannons.
Intercepting. I'm on them.
the rest of their ships are starting to come out now. We are still working on the AI behaviors between both mods. So ideally, either the Recusants would go back to the base with them, or these would all come up with the Recusants, and there's some behaviors we're altering for that. Because like the base game behavior is that everything just goes and hides into the station, which is stupid. We've added a response range in there. We just need to kind of fine-tune that. Anyways, we've got Gozantes, Recusants there.
Locking on.
Destroy those lasers.
Enemies in range.
We got a slightly bigger fleet going in here than they did.
Form up. Awaiting orders.
Plus Yularen's combat bonus.
Now.
Enemies in range. I copy. Enemies incoming.
Target. I'm on them.
Venators just carry so many fighters. We're probably going to end up reducing the number of torrents at least that come out at the start, and because right now I think it's like 8, which is mostly again just for demo purposes. But
Weapons online.
Draw their fire.
it'll probably be down to like 4 on the map at each point from the Venators. We want to take into account like performance is a thing too.
Attack formation.
On standby. Starting our attack run.
Waiting command.
Yeah, we're getting a bit spread out,
Commander.
so I'm gonna try to regroup over here.
I got one.
Ready to go, sir. All fighters engage.
Star Cruiser here.
And things will still get more and more optimized as we get towards release as well. We get asked pretty often when the release is going to be, when the first release is going to be. We don't know yet. We don't have any announcement or any announced release date yet.
Awaiting orders.
But you'll be able to see as we get closer. I'm going to be doing more and more news posts. We're going to be doing more and more preview videos like this, full preview playthroughs rather, and so it won't be a surprise. You'll know when it's coming.
Heavy cruiser standing by.
This wasn't a very diversified fleet.
Copy that.
I got one.
Let's try to
Setting course.
get these guys over here before that Lucca Hulk gets in range.
My sights. Coming back around for another
Weapons online. Reporting.
target locked. Getting a lock.
Awaiting command.
Target.
Certainly.
Intercepting.
Open fire on those
Alright.
laser cannons.
I believe Foros is using Bilbringi's maps right now. Really, it shouldn't be an asteroid.
I'm on them.
But again, that's all stuff that we're actually working on with both ICW and Father Republic. The planet art, and then making sure everything gets the proper maps assigned.
Attack.
You guys go over there.
Standing by. Our primary drive system is down. Star Cruiser here.
Stay in formation. Locking on. Get behind them. Regroup for another attack.
We've lost the shield generator. Star Cruiser standing by.
Alright.
Enemies in range.
Attack.
Go in and take out that next Recusant.
Roger that. Form up.
Target locked.
Moving into
Your orders,
position.
sir?
Keep that Acclimator from getting into
Waiting orders.
the danger zone there.
Good shot. Coming around. I've got them in my sights.
Copy.
Back
Fire.
around for another run.
I copy.
Getting a
Destroy
lock.
those lasers.
Intercepting. I'm on them. Stay in formation.
Reporting.
Nope, you need to get as far away from there as possible.
All out. Copy that. Open fire on those
Alright.
laser cannons.
But yeah, so as I was saying, the ground heroes for the Republic are probably the biggest part still left for them. because there's a lot of like character models and everything to do for Jedi. As you probably saw on the Galactic map, we don't have Obi-Wan and Anakin done yet, but we do have Yoda, because he was in the base game, and Mace Windu, which is an older model but it'll still check out. We'll probably want to update that before release.
Standing by.
And
Star Cruiser standing by.
Plo Koon's head is done, and that's the most of the work that need to be done for him. So Plo Koon's done. But yeah, so it's mostly CIS ground as a whole and Republic ground heroes. Other than that, there is a lot of content that's at least mostly ready.
Open fire on those laser cannons.
So you will see probably, like, what I'd like to do is get the first preview playthrough going after the current Corporate Sector Authority one is done.
Copy.
And I was talking to people about getting both a Republic and a CIS one going at the same time through ways. So more on that later. I talked about that on the Discord server a little bit, so if you do want to join that, there's a link to that in the description as well. But it looks like we've mostly got this handled, thanks to our superior fighter numbers right now.
Star Cruiser standing by.
Right now I don't think the Munificents and the Recusants are spawning fighters. The way we're most likely going to handle that is have them start off not spawning fighters, because they don't have hangars, but what they could do is have the Vulture droid like walking on their hull. And so we'll probably make it an upgrade you buy to be able to do that.
Form up. Awaiting orders.
Right, Yularen, go over and help.
Attack formation.
Copy.
I think the Providence might be a little bit out of scale.
Destroy those lasers. Open fire on those laser cannons.
Really, the Providence isn't super big. There is the like trenches style, which will be in the mod as well. I'm not sure whether it's going to be with just trench or if it's going to be a more standard thing as well.
Reporting in.
But you'll probably see that with trench in the CIS preview on Sunday. So, and right now it will just be the same model scaled up. But in the future, it might be something that we try to do some unique art for once the main rosters are done and fleshed out. Because we have posted unit lists for both the CIS and Republic, but it's not just going to be limited to that. That's basically the unit list for the first few versions,
Star Cruiser
or the first version or two maybe,
Cruiser standing by.
depending on how everything goes.
those lasers.
But after that, we do plan to reach more and more into the obscure parts of Legends, just like we do with ICW. There are some Hyena bombers over there. Don't have an icon yet.
I copy. Fire.
They'll probably have icons by
Affirmative.
the Sunday video.
Open fire.
Reporting. Heading out. Reporting in. Copy that.
All right.
Weapons online.
So Pavid,
Raised.
the station,
Reporting. On our way.
then you two, Electrum and Intrepid,
Heading for coordinates.
the Recusant.
Yes, Commander.
What are your orders?
Our Architect survived, our Acclimator survived, our Dreadnought is unfortunately dead.
Falling out of
It's a dead knot. That's sad.
Star Cruiser here. Star Cruiser standing by. Our shields are down.
But yeah, so with a lot of the testing that I've been doing in Fall of the Republic versus ICW, a lot of the
Ready, sir. What are your orders?
Roger that.
major battles have tended to be a little bit bigger on both sides, and that'll probably be something that we continue to encourage with
Fire on the shield
or
generator.
stay with. Just not quite the fighter swarms that you're seeing right now of Republic fighters.
Copy.
They'll generally be a little less numerous at any given time, more reserves, whereas the CIS will have a bit more upfront and fewer reserves. Except for the Lucre Hulk, which is just always going to be swimming with fighters.
Enemies incoming.
Attack formation.
Still thinks it's the New Republic.
Reporting in.
That will change as well.
Enemies in range. Intercepting.
Copy that.
I'm on them.
Alright, A victory for the Republic.
Another one down.
Target locked.
Here's that VO. So we lost 2 Venators, a Dreadnought and a Carrack. They lost a Lucrehulk, Munificent, a Providence, and 6 Recusants. Do they only have 1 Providence there?
Moving out.
Let's try to move some more
Confirmed.
acclimators into this area. Where's Yoda? Yoda's on Elsakin with Mace? Yeah. Alright, this looks like it's most of our ground units that are currently there. So,
Building under construction.
get a light vehicle factory.
Mission log updated.
That's just the, this thing. This was more necessary in ICW. I don't know if we're going to keep it there for all the Republic. We might, because there might be other faction stuff we do, but let's just take a moment to look at the map here. So, well, first off, in the corner where our heroes are, you can see, obviously, Wolf Yularen, Jace Dallin, who was the leader of the Rendili Home Defense Fleet. So he's actually in a dreadnought called Marcel Kaber? Marcel Keber? Something like that. Let's get him into our main fleet as well. Is there actually a way through there?
Right away.
We take Basilisk.
Receiving
There's
orders.
not. So we can actually get them in. No? Oh, that's not connected. So this should actually be connected from an axis to Coralag. But generally, what I want to do as far as additional planets, generally going for the Republic, would be this area, filling it up a little bit north of Coruscant. We'll just take a minute to look at the rest of this. So there's some planets that are basically meant to be early pickings for the CIS, to allow them to have a little bit of early expansion, like Corvus Minor, and some of these planets down near Geonosis. So they can go for Ryloth, Rhodia. They are modeled after canon starting not canon starting locations, but canon allegiances for planets, and that'll change depending on which area you choose to start in. But also the CIS planets in the core are probably not the most secure. There's some fairly strong ones like Vulpter and Forost, but the main CIS strength is probably going to come from out here, from like Pamont and Mintuine. Raxus Secundus is their capital, then also over here in like Munilinst and everything. So about what you'd expect as far as that goes. I do want to fill in some of these holes, because if you look here, you can see the Empire, which is the Republic, has 37 planets at the start. The CIS, which is the New Republic, they use the Rebel and Empire code each. It's mostly for like story scripting purposes, because you can only use story scripting with the 3 base game factions. But they start with significantly more. And just like in ICW, we're going to have options for varying sizes for the progressive ones. So this one will probably end up being closer to the size of like Empire's End, so over 100 planets, or Art of War. Whereas there will also be smaller full progressive scenarios, like a 50 planet one, probably 100 planet one, and 140. So those are roughly ballpark figures for that. So if you're concerned about being able to run the mod, there will, just like in ICW, be something that most levels of computer, I guess, should be able to handle. But we also have Delta Squad here, who does appear to be in our forces. Without the icon, it's a bit harder to see. Oh, is that a CIS? Yeah, that's... The Republic Senate should not have the CIS icon. That's supposed to have the Republic icon. Oops. Is Boss in here, though? Yeah, here he is. That's Delta Squad.
Invasion commencing.
Like I said, the Mace Windu model is super old, so... As are the clones, but the clones held up a little bit better. They're still going to get some touch-ups. These are the Phase 1 clones, obviously.
Reporting.
Later in the war, you can get Phase 2, and then one of the common questions has been about legions and the Open Circle fleet and all those other like special units within the Republic. So rather than having... actually, I'll talk about the Open Circle fleet stuff next time we're in space. But rather than having the legions as buildable units, because realistically they should have had similar loadouts, we're going to get all the roles that we want within the clones as they are. And let's get Mace and Yoda.
On my way, sir.
And which armor they end up using, especially in Phase 2, is going to be more based upon who's with them. So, if you have Anakin on the ground with them, like, if you just bring some clones down, they're going to be in the regular Phase 2 armor. If you have... we haven't changed any of these shuttles yet, so those are all going to be Yoda ones. Palpatine's voice, obviously, not going to stay like that. But, yeah, so...
Yes,
Ready for orders.
If you bring some clones down at the start of a battle, like we did here, they're just going to be regular clones. If you bring then Anakin down, and after you bring Anakin down, you bring new clones down, then those new clones will be wearing 501st armor. And there will be like a hierarchy of characters that it'll choose from, depending on who's present. So if you have 3 or 4 heroes present, it'll always be a certain way. It'll always be representatives of certain regions.
Roger that.
And we'll have a proper news post going over how exactly that will work and what it'll look like when more of those heroes and more of that script is done. Because that might be something that's more of a next version kind of deal.
Meditate on this, I will.
The CIS ground forces, like I said, are pretty sparse at the moment. There's Persuader class, there's Droidica, there's B1s, and there are Hailfires. Did I? No.
Reporting in.
Are there Persuaders here? Doesn't look like there's Persuaders here, but they are.
Roger that.
They are one of the vehicles in the mod right now for them. We're working on, I believe, the AAT, the HMP,
I have the target
and
in sight.
the
Jedi strength flows from
what is it called? MTT, I think, is actually the other one that are being worked on right now and should be going into the mod relatively soon.
I copy.
Roger that.
Reporting.
Alright, let's send them down with this ATTE. And obviously no voiceover stuff has been done for the mod yet. That'll probably be closer to when everything is split off into its own files. Maybe a little bit before.
On my way, sir.
Yes, sir. Receiving orders. As you wish.
You seek Yoda? Shrouds this place. The dark side does.
Yes, Commander. Squadron moving out.
Actually, let's get Delta Squad in here. So... Oh, there's some Persuaders.
Commencing attack. Advance.
No, don't get run over. Actually, do get run over. But I can bring down more stuff.
Ready. Heading for attack position.
You gotta get over here.
Yes.
So stuff like Mace's animations, the B1 animations, those will all be first on the docket to get fixed, basically. Because a lot of the... or a good amount of the assets are still stuff we have left over from the first time we were making Call of the Republic, which was like 10 years ago. But you guys... I no longer want you to die. I want you over here.
Affirmative.
Here we go.
As you wish, General. Reporting. Order acknowledged.
One clone left.
Avoiding fire.
What do you want?
Landing zone.
I go.
Yes, Commander.
I fear no one.
Careful when sensing the future.
Destination.
Delta Squad, AT-AP, Juggernaut, Saber Tank, ISP. Oh, you can go for them.
Surprise.
Dark side is strong.
So Jedi will always be quite good at dealing with droids, but vehicles will be a lot harder for them. So they won't be completely one-man armies. They'll be really good against infantry, just like in in ICW. They'll be good against infantry, they'll struggle a bit more against vehicles. And after a certain amount of infantry, they're just gonna not be able to handle it. Those are some rebels.
Meditate on this. I will.
Brigade standing by. Rolling out. Charge!
Swamp speeder ready. Fire.
Alright, so just those B1s left. Patrolling over here, apparently.
We are victorious.
Another thing that's being worked on right now are actually super battle droids. We have an older model, but we would rather not use that at all. Just like with ICW, again, we're okay with using placeholder stuff early and then working to replace it as we go. Because that's usually more efficient. We start getting feedback on gameplay related stuff, and then we can iterate on that rather than just waiting for everything to be done and redone like 7 more times and making people hold off on the mod until no one wants it anymore. It generally does make everything get to where it's eventually going much faster, getting that kind of feedback. So it's something that we're much better off doing than not. But yeah, so in a lot of Clone Wars stuff, you'll see the Venators always having the Open Circle Fleet insignia, which is like the little circles on them, which isn't really accurate. That was a specific fleet. And just like with the Clone Legions, rather than trying to like make them a special unit or something, it'll again depend on who's present. So if you just send in some Venators, they'll just display like these normal ones. Also, the stripes were typically indicating which fleet group or something they were. I forget what they specifically represent, but something like that. That we can't really do much about. We'll think about it in the future, but it might be a little like a bridge too far for that kind of thing. But with Open Circle Fleet and that kind of insignia, when someone like Admiral Wolf Yularen is in the battle, then any Venators that are brought in after him would gain would have the insignia the same way that any clones brought in after Anakin will have 501st armor. So it's basically going to work like that. So rather than trying to clutter up the build bar with units that are effectively the same, we'll be able to get in that kind of visual flavor by by using them under specific conditions. That way people will generally be a bit more aware of what they mean. They'll be able to still see everything, but it won't be like 72 different units that nobody understands the difference between for the sake of just having it there. You can see some under construction Star Destroyers. All the maps are again still shared between the mods. So that's the kind of thing that once they're split off will start coming out a bit more.
Let's move out. Moving into position.
Reinforcements canceled.
Moving. All ahead. Engines to full. Carrick en route.
Reinforcements
We want to make sure that most ships are still going to have a role. So rather than it being like all Venators all the time, we do want to work on balancing to make sure that you don't just want to build a giant fleet of Venators. Like, you can build a giant fleet of Venators if you want. It'll still be useful. I just mean so that you're not like making a huge mistake tactically or strategically if you aren't using Venators. If you decide to use Acclimators or Dreadnoughts or something, they won't feel like a waste of credits. They'll have a defined role to fill. That's actually going to be probably a little bit easier to do in ICW in Fall of the Republic than ICW, because the unit rosters, in terms of what's shown, tend to be a bit more sparse and a bit more well-defined, I guess, than in the Clone Wars, than in the post-Endor period, because it's made by a smaller group of people. So rather than being like 72 different types of Star Destroyers, you usually had like one clear carrier, one clear destroyer, one clear whatever, at least within different size categories.
Take out the ion cannons. I copy.
intercepted. Enemies in range.
Not sure what was off the map that it decided it wanted to see so badly.
Reporting in. Fire! Copy that.
Alright, our giant fighter spam is definitely putting things a bit more in our favor than they would be otherwise.
Weapons online.
On standby.
Let's get our R-170s after the starbase there.
Reporting. Awaiting command. Yes, Commander.
These missing hardpoints are actually the
Open fire
the
on those
light
laser
laser can. They're either lighter like lasers or light turbo lasers, and the first ships they were on in the mod were the recusants, so that's why they're still missing. What a mess. So many torrents. I'm really watching the 2003 show.
Standing by. Responsible shield generator.
Where'd he go? Enemies in range. Coming around.
With planets like Vulpter and Coruscant, these big Ecumenopolis ones that look like that, we do want to have some of the more low Earth, or not low Earth, but low orbit battles where you can see the whole planet's surface. The one thing that we are concerned about with that kind of thing is making sure the game remains readable. So making sure that once when you're looking at your ships, you can clearly see what's still going on with all the background there. So that's going to be a big goal with that kind of thing, is making sure it doesn't drown out what's actually going on. That's part of why we haven't done it so far in ICW or in Fall of the Republic, but it will be something that we try to nail down going forward, because it does look cool. It's just it can cause some problems. All right, let's get Jay Stalin in here, and well, let's go to Humberine.
On our way.
Maybe we'll invade Kid or Nemo idea, see if New Gunray's still there.
All ahead.
He's a ground hero, like he's an economic hero rather, so we won't see him in space.
The enemy has been spotted.
Grievous is in the mod actually, so we'll try to use Invisible Hand, or I don't think it'd actually be Invisible Hand yet, but in the Sunday video for the CIS, he'll be an Invisible Hand. We'll use Invisible Hand, we'll use Trench's Invincible, I think it was called, and
Choose your reinforcements.
see what else we can get up to. Okay, so let's get down in here with Mercil Uber.
Moving to sector.
Lauren.
Coordinates.
Fall out.
Go a bit more heavy on the acclimators here.
Proceeding to coordinates. Navigating. I copy.
Moving out.
So the vendors put out too many fighters at once. The Lucre Hawk probably still too few. They only have the Tri-Fighters, the Hyenas, and the Vultures right now. So
Copy.
there are a bunch of other CIS fighter types that are going to be in the mod.
Setting course.
We were mostly waiting for that, but I think we can probably just get away with
Right away.
a bunch more Vultures and stuff for now.
Moving into position.
The Lucre Hawks. Then reevaluate that later if we want to.
Moving. All ahead. Engines to full.
Intercepting.
Moving. Carrack en route. Understood. Moving to sector.
Locking on.
Star Cruiser here.
Stay in formation.
Carrack commander here.
Star Cruiser standing by.
I copy. Formation. Fire for maximum effect.
Roger that. Form up.
Target locked.
Alright.
Waiting order.
The Arc 170 Classic 100, another one down, will be solved in both mods.
Dreadnought cruiser ready.
Eliminating target.
Targeting at maximum firepower.
Reporting. Charge laser cannons.
Copy. Open fire. those lasers.
Coming around.
Open fire on those laser cannons.
You can probably see that even though the fighters are doing a good job shredding it, the Lucre Hulk is in general much sturdier now than it was in the last release of ICW. They are quite useful. It's just once they have the rest of their fighters, it'll be even more useful. Once the vendors aren't spamming quite as many fighters, it'll be even more useful.
Attack that target.
But there we go.
Heavy cruiser standing
Holding
by.
fire for
Gowan's still doing good on this side.
Stay in formation.
Move out.
Lauren hasn't really been touched.
Let's go.
Get behind them.
Reporting in.
Have them now.
And they got away. Oh no. And I'll probably try to put in a bit more starting ground stuff for the Republic before the Sunday one so that we can attack a bit with the CIS and maybe see a bit more of the ground stuff. Probably go for Coruscant or something. But yeah, so let's get...
All ahead.
There's a good target for us down here. We have a Raidu. So this is actually Tarkin, the hero down here. That's Tarkin.
Confirmed.
Grab this fleet and go and lose it to something. We gotta get in... Oh, we're not gonna lose it to anything. We've got to get a better icon for... Or not a better icon, but an icon where he's not old and Imperial yet. So that's why he has no icon in this right now, and rather than using the base game one.
Captain here. Engines to full.
And a lot of the affiliations, like you can see that these are set to hostile and we can target them. Those are mostly getting recoded as proper props. And part of it is just because there aren't as many faction entries in Fall of the Republic. So once they go from being used in Imperial Civil War to Fall of the Republic,
Reinforcements canceled.
it switches the affiliation, and then it causes those issues. But the maps will start to specialize as we go, from being for one, for the other, or for both, where appropriate. Let's get Tarkin in I think it's called Triumphant or something? No, is that Platoons?
Copy that.
He's in some... Oh, I don't think there was actually a specified name for it, but
Attacking target.
he does have a vendor.
Draw their fire. Attack formation. Target locked. Another one down. Eliminating target. Another one down. Target locked. That's my sense.
Awaiting
What are your
command.
orders?
Reporting. Go after the target at maximum firepower.
Keep going. Standing by. Fire at will.
Getting a lock.
Alright, this looks like another probable Republic victory.
At your command.
We'll get some CIS victories in on Sunday.
Starting our attack run.
Star Cruiser here. Star Cruiser standing by.
Our very own Battle of Coruscant, even.
Fire on those laser cannons.
Locking on. Enemies in
Warm up.
range.
Attacking. Awaiting orders.
Nope, you're good there.
Copy. Targeting.
You guys keep doing that.
I copy. Firing.
Stay in formation.
Affirmative.
Cruiser here. Target locked. Right away. Eliminating target.
Reporting. Over there. Enemies in range.
Okay, the station's almost done. Let's get the Architens to attack
Reporting in.
that. Tarkin, keep on firing out the station.
Weapons online.
Liberator, keep hitting that. Nope,
Reporting.
you go forward then if you're blocking him.
What are your orders?
The Carracks are actually pretty high on the list for both mods to get redone. We tend to prioritize the stuff that's in all three mods, so in Ascendancy, ICW, and Fall of the Republic, and Carracks definitely fall into that. They're one of the main Imperial ships as well as being available to the Republic, so they'll probably get redone sooner than later. I'm not sure exactly when. It still depends on when one of us decides that they can actually do it, but it is on the list. That is a bright map. But yeah, so that, I think, is actually going to do it for our Republic preview for the day. Hope you guys have enjoyed this little look at Fall of the Republic, and you're looking forward to when we get to, again, the full preview playthroughs for the Republic and CIS coming out. We are, again, doing a Sunday video, which is going to have the CIS doing the exact same thing, taking a look at things from their side, looking at some of their heroes and units and their planets and everything. If you would like to support us in the Mod of the Year voting, the links for that are, again, in the description. If you want to join the Discord server for Corey Loses and Thrawn's Revenge, the link for that is down there. If you'd also like to consider supporting the channel and myself directly, there's a link to Patreon in the description as well. So thanks again for watching. Hope you have enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.